Hello, today I want to talk about how I adjust blade on my Porter cable bandsaw. A lot of people are talking about can't get the drift out. I don't have any problems. I'm saying that now, let's hope. Let me show you how I adjust mine and maybe it might help you, okay? Let me show you a few things here. When you adjust your blade location, you see your wheel. Now these wheels with the tire on it is a little rounded. So what you want to do is the kerf of the blade, where the teeth are right here, put that on center. So the teeth of the blade is actually, I barely get my fingernail underneath the tooth, okay? But just the tooth. You don't want the teeth to touch the tire because it'll end up wearing it out. That is the main point of adjusting your bandsaw, is the location of this blade. Now if you look the top where it's at on the right side, if you come down here and look at the bottom, you'll notice that the blade is on the left side. Now this is normal and this is the way it's supposed to be. These are made from the manufacturer that way to keep this blade from running off. Okay, so they're opposite of each other. So if yours is opposite, don't worry about it. This has to be that way. But you'll see the edge of the blade, the back of the blade is almost center of the wheel. So that's pretty good. I think you'll do good if you got it adjusted like this. Now the next thing we want to talk about is your guides. Now the two side guides right here, you want them to where they just barely, they're not touching, just as close as you can get them without touching. I usually, unless I'm using a lot of curves, I don't even hardly adjust these, but if you're just ripping, these here won't even be used. But that's what you want these on, is just barely touching. Now what I usually do on them is I'll loosen these up right here, and then as I spin the wheel, then I'll tighten them back down, and that usually gets me close. And then you've got your guide wheel here in the back. You notice it's free spinning right now, okay? But the slightest bit of touch, see, and you can adjust that over just a little bit. You want it to where you can spin this and that wheel doesn't spin. And a little bit more here. I just put this blade on, so let's see how it does here. Spin a little bit more. You want that to where, sorry about that, I'm looking at one thing and moving the camera the other. A little bit more. Okay. Right now it's just barely touching. Okay? Now that's the location you want to keep that. And you got the same set of guides from here on the bottom, and you want to adjust that the same way. So now that's how I adjust it. And the tension on these Porter cables is over here, the tall wheel. It's got markings on the side here where you want to do it. The tension I do is, you can see the blade is fairly tight, but it's not tight enough to where it don't move. It's just a little give right there, and that's good. You don't want that too tight because you'll end up breaking your blade. Now let me cut a few pieces here and show you how this works. Hopefully it works pretty good. Let me get that set down. Okay. Now after you get your blade on, you want to make sure your table here is square with your blade. Okay, it don't matter what you do, if this table's not square with it, it's always going to cut off. The way you can test that is just grab you a piece of wood, put it up there, cut it, whip it around, and if that blade goes inside the cut that you made in the front, then it's usually pretty square. Okay, so try it and see. Turn it around, and it slid right in. So that one, the blade is set pretty decent, close enough. Let's get us a fence to see if we can rip something. Now, I'm just going to throw this up. I don't really have any marks on here. I'm just going to kind of guess at it and see what she'll do. It's not all the time that you got to have it totally square, but close enough is good. We'll clamp this down. There we go. Now, you see my high-tech fence we have here, and it's a piece of 2x4 and a piece of plywood. I got a notch right here for the lower pieces when I lower this down. You don't have to lower this down. You can keep this all the way up even if you're ripping a small piece, because if the blade's adjusted right, this won't turn regardless where this is at, okay? So you don't have to adjust it up and down. I never do. Now, what I want to do here is we're going to rip this little piece here, and we'll see how it works, but I can't find a piece of wood. There we go. I need some type of a push block to keep my fingers out of here. It's also important when you're doing this, a little safety tip here, as you're getting close, even though you're not to the edge of the wood, don't think that you're safe. What happened to me a few months ago is as I was pushing through, I had my thumb just a little far over, and the wood broke. It just shacked right in two, and my thumb went right into the blade, about cut it in half. So it was, just make sure that when you're pushing through that your thumb is not behind where the blade's going to be. And if you start getting close, then you need to use a push block to push it through. Okay, let's see how this cuts. Okay, let's see what we got here. As you look at that, there we go. This is the round side of the 2x4. It's chipped right here, but if you look at it, it's fairly even all the way through. And I just threw it together. Okay, so it's not really fully adjusted yet, but it's close enough. I mean, we take a pair of calipers if I can find them and measure that. I don't think you're going to see a big difference in them. Let's see here. Got me a little cheap pair. My good pair is down in the basement, so. Okay. I tell you what, that is almost on the mark. I'm going to put that up here, see if you could see the mark on that. See that? Right there? I'm going to tighten that back up. It's just a hair. Just a hair. Okay. Now, the main point here is not just the adjustment, okay, as you're cutting this. The adjustments is your primary point. Now, the biggest problem I've ever had was if I got in a rush and I started pushing it through too fast. Now, if your blade's not capable of cutting as fast as you're pushing, this blade will turn. Okay? That is where you're going to get your drift, because you're actually pushing your wood faster than the blade's capable of cutting. Okay? So as long as you put that through at a slow pace and enough time to where the wood can be cut by the blade and hauled away. Okay? That's what the depth of the teeth will do. We'll take the extra sawdust and pull it down. This wood will just cut right on through. If you're pushing it too fast, it won't allow the blade to actually cut on its own. So it's going to start turning, and it's not the blade that's turning. You're turning the blade by pushing that too hard. Okay, it's not the blade. I know we always blame our saws and stuff for, oh, the drift on this saw is bad and this is bad. It's not the saw. Okay, as long as you got it just right, it won't be the saw. It will be you. Okay, you're pushing it through too fast. You can slow down your speed, test it out, and see what I'm saying. But usually when you're pushed too fast, that blade will rock. Also, the quality of blade and the sharpness of this blade is going to determine a lot of your cuts too. So if this is real sharp and it's a high quality blade, you can push it through at a decent pace, okay, or a decent rate. But now if it's an older blade and it's starting to dull, you're going to have to slow it down, okay? Slow the feed down, and that blade will stay true all the way through, okay? So give it a try. If you're having trouble adjusting your bandsaw and you're getting a lot of drift, try this out and see if what I'm saying ain't true. It works for me. I have no trouble with it. Of course, these Porter cables don't do this ripping very well with a hardwood. I mean, realize this is pine, so it's a little easier to do, but It does the same with hardwood. I just got to feed it a little slower. But it still works great. So when you get to a thinner blade though, you'll have to slow your speed down even more, because this here's a 1/2 inch. When you start getting down to the 1/4 inch or blade smaller like that, you're going to have to feed it slow and let this blade take its time. Let the blade do the cutting, okay? If you push through too fast, you're not letting the blade cut, you're actually forcing it to cut, and it causes it to pull. This is where you get your drift, okay? So hopefully that helps you. Like I said, that's the way I set it up. That's the way it works for me. Try it out on your saw. Hopefully it will work for you. If you've got different ways that you're doing, that's fine. Send me a video of it, and we'll see if we can post it on. Have several different ways, because not one way works for everyone. Okay, so you can try this out, see if it works for you, and let me know if it works. Okay, thank you.